Welcome to Atlanta's Commercial Real Estate Show, brought to you by Bull Realty, the show for property owners and business leaders. Host Michael Bull brings you market analysis, advice, and opportunities around Atlanta.
Welcome to Atlanta's Commercial Real Estate Show. I am Michael Bull. This segment is brought to you by Bull Realty Asset and Occupancy Solutions. Visit bullrealty.com. Well, let's talk about the office market today in Atlanta. It's been interesting as we've helped companies around Atlanta with their space needs. It seems like there's been a lot of growth, but what's really happening overall? Please welcome my guest, Barbara Denham. She's an economist and she's with Reese and she's joining us on the phone. Barbara, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So Barbara, what do you see for the office market performance around Atlanta?
Well, you know, Atlanta had been one of the darlings. It had seen the very strong absorption growth, occupancy and construction over the last few years, but it definitely had a bit of a setback in the first quarter. There was negative net absorption of about 150,000 square feet, and yet there was new construction of 370,000 square feet. So the vacancy increased in the first quarter by almost a whole half percentage point. So that was unfortunate. Rent growth was still positive, but it was pretty low. So it was about, 0.8% in the quarter, which isn't bad. Our outlook for Atlanta, though, given the negative net absorption in the first quarter, is for below average rent growth going forward. What I did was I looked at the jobs numbers, and I see that there's job decline in a couple of the office-using industries, including the information sector. So there's a couple announcements of, Turner and Comcast incurring layoffs, and we definitely see that in the early 2018 jobs numbers.
That's interesting. So overall, then, moving forward, is your outlook for the second quarter, but what about moving forward for the next year or so, especially when you look at the economy, what's going on?
Well, Atlanta, again, was it's been doing well just over the last 2 years, mainly because it was very slow to emerge out of the recession because it was hit disproportionately hard by the housing crisis. But our outlook for Atlanta in general is still very strong, mainly because it is such a large metropolis, and it is, it's a hub for not just the airlines, but it is a hub for economic activity in the South. So our outlook for the bigger markets is definitely positive. A setback like this is not something to really worry about. It's really just 1 quarter of negative net absorption. So, and even like the other sectors, like the finance industry added jobs, the professional business services industry added jobs. So overall job growth is still positive. It's just lower than it had been over the last 2 years. Yeah.
What about trends for cap rates for office properties around Atlanta, Barbara? It seems like, I've got investors that are looking for office properties in Atlanta, and it seems like there's a lot of demand for Atlanta, and it seems like from my desk that cap rates have even been declining, if stable or declining. What do you see from your desk?
Well, the overall cap rates in Atlanta have been flat. It's hard to gauge when you have very few
sales. Yeah.
Sales. So, like for example, at the end of 2014, we saw a pretty sharp uptick in the cap rate in Atlanta. So these numbers are very volatile because you could have just 3 properties trade, and they aren't really great properties. So you're going to see a higher cap rate if the quality of the building isn't as strong. But overall, the cap rates have been trending with the U.S. average. And the first quarter, we could see a dramatic drop if we saw some high-profile sales close in the quarter. So, like I said, I think Atlanta still has a lot of promise to it, and a lot of investors, especially internationally, like the gateway cities. And Atlanta is kind of in the top 20, I would say, in the overall size of its office market. So it's still in demand, and it's kind of uniquely situated. It's further away from the Northeast, where there's so many, and the West Coast, where there's so many. Atlanta has its kind of like big turf, and then it's the big brother of the South.
Yeah, it sure is. Seems like a lot of companies are are moving here, and we have the Mercedes headquarters, U.S. headquarters moved here, and a lot of good news. And in fact, you're joining us. You're going to come down in June 21st. So if listeners, if you'd like to see Barbara in person, she and I will do a presentation together at the Georgia CPA conference on June 21st. And if you want to get into that event, reach out to me. I'll see if I can get you in. If you're a CPA, then you're probably in. And
yeah, looking forward to it.
And Barbara, so you're going to be down here. You're going to look at some colleges when you're in town with
my 17-year-old. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. We look forward to seeing you. And thanks for joining us on the show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right, and thank you for joining us on Atlanta's Commercial Real Estate Show. If you'd like information on any sector or any market around Atlanta, reach out to us. Thank you for joining us.